This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody, welcome to Josh Has Autism.
Hello.
Oh, hope everybody's doing well. It's finally starting to not be so stinking hot. So that's a good thing. Because the weather broke, Dad and I have been working on a shed, so that's pretty cool, but exhausting, and it's almost stuffy because I've been the last 2 days out there, he's doing, like, I had sawdust all in my hair because I hold stuff, he does it over me, and then it, he's doing the Sawzall or whatever, cutting holes for windows and doors, and all the sawdust falls in my hair. Anyway, so I'm so glad it's not so hot. And what's your favorite season?
My favorite season?
Yeah. This is mine, going into it. I know we're still in summer, but the fall is my absolute favorite season. Cool. Oh, until it's winter, and then that's my favorite until it's spring. But no, fall, absolutely. This the feel, bit of a chill that.
Yeah, I think it depends on where we're living.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because I cannot stand the heat. Mm-hmm. And I don't really care for the cold. Mm-hmm. But I can't stand the heat.
Yeah, when we lived in Pennsylvania, you did pretty good with the cold.
Yeah.
You would just bundle up and go off and do your thing.
Yeah, because whenever it's cold, you can always put more and more on. But whenever it's hot, you can only take so much off.
Without getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so I want to talk to you about something specific that happened the other day. And last week you were sick. So we didn't do a podcast last week because I went to go do it. I went to get you to say, okay, it's time. And
I couldn't say anything because I didn't have a voice.
You're right. You said, I'm like, what? No voice, no podcast. So, you feeling better?
I am, yeah.
Good. Okay, so what happened was you went to the pharmacy on the base, and you went to pick up a medication, and you had just taken your last one of that prescription.
Right.
And it was a new prescription. Let me rephrase this. It was not a refill because it was supposedly going to be written by a different doctor.
Right.
And that doctor was putting in the same medication that you've been on, but it was a refill. I'm sorry, it was a new prescription because it was a new doctor.
Right.
But it was the old medicine.
Right.
Same
and
medicine.
that medicine can't have refills.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it's always technically a new medicine. It's just because they can't do refills.
Oh, right. And this was a little bit of a change because the doctor that prescribed it has gone to more of a holistic approach and does not want to write prescriptions anymore. So, anyway, I had talked to people ahead of time, and you got up early, went that day to the pharmacy to get your medicine, and tell us what happened and how that felt.
Okay. So, the pharmacy itself, usually the rolling gates, whatever, at each of the windows usually open at, 8 o'clock? Something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, 8 o'clock. And so you're able to get a ticket up to half an hour beforehand. So I got there right around half an hour beforehand so that I would be early enough to actually get a ticket really early, so I'd be one of the first people up there, and so I could get in and get out. And so I was able to get a ticket really quickly, and was able to get up to the window and I was told, "Hey, we don't have a prescription in here for you." I'm like, okay. No, one of the things that you and I had talked about before me going out on this thing was to, if they don't have the medicine written in there yet, to go check with the doctor, which I know the procedure for already,
Mm-hmm.
and where to go and everything else like that, because it's all in the same building.
Mm-hmm. And it's always been the same. So no matter where we've lived, we are so grateful that your dad retired from the Navy. So we have the ability to use the military facilities for doctors and for prescriptions.
Yes.
And so even though the buildings are different,
there's always a particular procedure.
Yes, they always follow the same procedure.
Yeah.
And so, yes, and even though I was given every, go ahead, yes, the medication will be there, I wanted you to know that this was kind of a different, ahead of time and behind the scenes, I had to do a lot of work to get this to happen.
Right.
And so I wanted to let you know, hey, because in the back of my mind I'm going, well, surely they have it, but if they don't, I want you to know to go back to the doctor.
And so they didn't, and don't call me Shirley.
Bada-boom.
So, yeah, they didn't, and so when I was able to go to the receptionist or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
for
Office manager.
Yeah, for my doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and was able to talk to her, and she has been what was it you called it just now?
Office manager?
Yeah, she's been the office manager for...
Well, technically, because it's the military, she's not called an office manager, technically.
Yeah, but she's been the one that we've made appointments
Mm-hmm.
through for the doctors for years.
Mm-hmm.
And
so she knows you.
Yeah, she knows me, and
Mm-hmm.
we know her, and she's really cool about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she really does what she can to get things done.
Right. So when you have a change, typically,
Mm-hmm.
so that's a huge point that I wanted to make, is that in this particular case, there was a setup for you feeling overwhelmed and so much that you wouldn't know what to do, is my understanding of how you feel about when there's sudden changes.
Right.
In this particular case, you have done this so many times, and you had been told what to do, and you know who to go to.
Right.
So not only did I tell you, hey, if doesn't work, go to see this person that you just described in the doctor's office. The pharmacist told you to go to the same place.
Yeah.
And so you know her and you're comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what you did.
Yeah.
What would happen in that situation? And this is the kind of stuff that I've worried about you for your entire life. And I know that you're a grown man, and I also know that you have not... you've developed so many skill sets to be able to get yourself out of situations or to know what to do. And I still worry about you because when there is sudden change and things that are new, now we've already talked about it. If somebody else is having an emergency,
Mm-hmm.
you're like a superhero. When you're experiencing it yourself, which would be kind of an urgent situation here because you didn't have any more medicine left.
Right.
So how would you... Did you have any of that panicky kind of feeling that, oh no, this is not going as it should?
at this point in time, what we've been describing,
Yeah.
no, simply because there was already a plan in place that had been discussed and everything of what I should do if something were to not be in place yet.
Mm-hmm. And that's a scenario that we've gone through over and over in different situations, which is a what if scenario.
Yeah.
And now what?
Yeah. And so in this particular case, you'd even said that, hey, if the medicines don't show up in the thing at the pharmacy, to check with the doctor, or check with the receptionist like person, who's probably not called a receptionist like person, for my doctor.
Right. We'll just call her receptionist.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
And so, whenever taking a step back to the pharmacy though, and this actually played a big part in it, is that the person behind the desk at the pharmacy that I was talking with about my medicine, whenever they realized that I am supposed to have one in there but it's not in there, and they recommended that I go check with my doctor, they said, you know what, I'm here till lunch or till noon. If you are able to get that medicine in and everything, you won't have to go in and get another ticket. I can take you here.
Very cool.
Yeah. And so that alone, they had no idea that I'm autistic for one, or that I would have had a much worse of a time had I not had that option.
Right.
Because it would have stressed me out so much more.
Because when this was a Friday, and I think it was a Friday. Yeah, it was a Friday. And what happens is in the most military bases across the country, a pharmacy gets packed.
Yes.
Because
especially on a Friday.
Yes, because people are going into the weekends. They just want to grab their stuff, and I mean, if you can imagine, this is the hub for everybody that's getting refills, active duty, retired, dependents, right. Everybody, whether they've seen a doctor that day or it's
right,
new prescriptions. Now they have switched gears and made this really cool, that they have a different location on that base for refills.
Yes.
Which makes it very nice to be able to not have to wait in that
huge line,
yeah.
Even worse than the huge line is already.
Yeah, and I always say it's kind of at first it's very strange the way they do it, because you go to this machine and you check in, and you tell them whether you've seen the doctor that day or you haven't.
Which they also recently changed that too.
And so you get a ticket, and then an
a
automated
little stub, yeah.
Yes, a little automated voice over the speaker will tell you what number and is up and at what window.
Yeah.
And then also they have a TV screen
that has a list of the latest ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that helpful to you to have that on the TV screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's actually one of the reasons they have it, is that it's helpful. But on top of that, whenever it's not just a blaring loud voice, sometimes it can get busy enough that you don't really hear it clearly.
Right.
So it's good to have the screen up.
Yeah.
But anyway, so after being told that by the pharmacist and going to see the receptionist for my doctor, um, confirming who I am and everything like that is a known song and dance, I guess, for checking in with Dr. Sear or there at the base.
Mm-hmm.
And the first real snag, I guess, was whenever she said, we don't have a script put in for you for this medication.
Mm-hmm.
And
was that really hard? So that was the first time in the process because everything else had been familiar.
right,
And you knew what to do and you were guided what to do.
right,
And when you get to her and she says, we don't have that in our system. We don't
Right.
have a script written for you.
right,
Your doctor didn't write one.
right.
Um,
And honestly, before I could really start freaking out about that, she suggested, is there anyone that I can call to find out more to help you? And I told her, can you please call my mom? And she's like, absolutely.
Mhm.
And this is another multiple faceted point, is that because we've worked so long with her, and she knew that that giving me options like that would help me,
mm-hmm.
and jeez, I'm having trouble. So her knowing us that well to know to try and contact someone like was a huge help.
Mm-hmm.
And so me being able to give her your number to call while I'm there at the
Mm-hmm.
her desk
Mm-hmm.
was really helpful and really huge, and it prevented even more stress I would have had otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And so I gave her your number, and she called you, and I remember that she was really apologetic.
Yes.
And
Yes, and here's why. So the situation is that the prescription was written by your psychiatrist,
mm-hmm.
and it has been for months and months now.
Yes.
And the family doctor has not written that prescription yet.
Right.
Now, she knew you were on it because she sees you. It's
Yeah.
in your records.
Right.
But she's never prescribed it to you.
Right.
So it's the last day. You're about to run out. She doesn't have any availabilities to see you to assess that, yes, this is the right medication for you. I see you've been on it, blah, 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 the stuff that the family doctors need to do.
Right.
So she didn't feel comfortable writing this without having some information from the psychiatrist that you have been on it and why.
Right.
And the necessity for it.
Right.
So somehow along the way, now I had contacted them like 3 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then even reconfirmed.
Yeah.
And I was told, don't see there's going to be any problem.
Right.
And didn't hear anything. So I thought, just like any other time, you would go pick up the medicine and, do this routine and you'd be back home. Well, what had to happen is behind the scenes is I had to go get in touch with the psychiatrist. I had to get the fax number from that receptionist.
Mm-hmm.
I had to contact the psychiatrist, give her the fax number, and ask her to send what they wanted is basically notes from the last couple sessions with you and confirming that yes, you're on this medication and why.
Right.
And
I remember that whenever she was on the call with you, that she checked with you to see if she could transfer you to the person between the receptionist and the doctor who does the overall checking of something.
there's somebody else, and I don't remember. They oversee all of the coordination of working with outside practitioners.
Right. And I'm still there at the desk, so she's like, "Okay, let me transfer you over," and she does it, and as soon as she does it, she says, "Uh-oh, I transferred her to the wrong place."
Yeah.
And she was horrified. She was.
Well, also what she did is she kept apologizing that she recognized that you have no more medicine.
Right.
That this medication has, for you, I'm not saying for anybody else, but for you, has
Worked.
it works.
Yeah.
It helps you in the best way possible. You used to be on a lot of different medicines.
Oh my gosh.
And the psychiatrist is like, let's undo
Yeah.
and untangle some of this. Got you down to and changed and through gene testing found out what would work for you.
Yeah.
And that's what you're on, and it so it helps you.
Yeah.
At any rate, what was I saying?
The transfer.
Yeah. So.
The receptionist.
Oh, so
saying
she kept
sorry.
on. She recognized that you needed that medicine that day, and moving forward without that medicine means you're going to have a very difficult time of it.
Right.
It's going to upset.
Right.
Your life.
Right.
And your well-being.
I think this was actually the long weekend right after that.
It was.
So, and because the pharmacy and the doctors at the base are not open or available on weekends, and because this was an extended holiday weekend, it would have been at least 3 days.
So behind the scenes, there was that sent someplace else, but in the meantime, even though I got sent someplace on my end, I recognized right away, this is not right.
Right.
So what I did is immediately sent a message to the psychiatrist, and gave her the fax number. I did it 2 separate ways. I sent it through text, and I sent it to doctors sometimes have these portals where through the internet where they get messages.
Well, she had called you right back to transfer you properly, and then she got the number and the paperwork for my psychiatrist or. I always get the two confused.
So she faxed that right away, but apparently it took a while for it to go through.
Yes.
For some reason.
Yes.
But it did work out. There most definitely was a feeling on my end, so I wanted to know how that felt for you. And, it's like this panicky feeling, like, now maybe it's from my point of view, and I help you with all this kind of stuff, and then I see the results, because we've been through this so many times, not about getting the medicine late, but trying different medicines, and changes and stuff.
Right.
Just did not want for you to have to go through that.
Right.
Like this situation on that day, sometimes things just happen. And they don't happen how you would like them to, or the easiest way.
Right.
But and you had people that really were helping you out through this process, but the end result of you not getting your medicine would have been more than likely very, very difficult.
Yes, very much so.
Did you think about that when you were there?
A bit, yeah. But it it's the entire time that this whole thing was going on. I'd be in between things going on, like in between the pharmacy and going to the doctor. I called you to give you an update.
Mm-hmm.
After to continue on on where we stopped and what we were saying for the timeline of things. Waiting for the facts to come back through. It was sorry. I've had multiple thoughts at the same time. After her sending the facts through to the
Family doctor.
psychiatrist, not to the family doctor, to the psychiatrist. To
the fax. Oh, after I sent her the fax number.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
There was. It's a waiting game at that point.
Mm-hmm.
To get it back.
Mm-hmm.
And I
will say that I let you know as soon as I heard back from the psychiatrist. I called you and said she's sending it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so you would know.
Yeah.
That it's in motion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout that, I was constantly going up and down, because the receptionist and my doctor was up on the third floor, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
The pharmacy's on the first floor.
Mm-hmm.
And so I, between the time of the request for information form or whatever being faxed over to the psychiatrist, to you calling me with that with the update, and I had been going up and down a couple times between the floors to try and figure out what to do. Sorry, my throat's getting scratchy a little. Not scratchy, but it's sounding scratchy. So I went out to my car and like from the third floor went out to my car, and was told, hey, you can go back. You can go. I got out to my car to wait out and try and charge my phone, because that was another thing, was that my phone hadn't been charging on the here at home. And so I got to my car, and as soon as I got into my car and turned it on, I got the call from you giving me that update, saying that, hey,
the fax has been sent.
The fax is in the process of being sent back to the doctor. And so I stopped my car, got back out, and went back up to the third floor. And I gave an update to the receptionist that I just got a message saying that it was being sent over. And I sat there to wait for the confirmation to come through. And I think it was half an hour later, it was when it was coming through.
Mm-hmm.
And
So I want to know the whole process. I know that you did really well, because what you've said is that it was so familiar to you.
Yeah.
And how would it be different if there wasn't like this insulation there for you, like these buffers, right? So it wasn't going as planned.
Right.
And that could have been very upsetting to you, but you had people on all sides helping you through that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we talked about is that how you benefit so much from having the advocates in your life that you have.
Yeah.
And those people that are take an extra step to explain, or an extra step to give direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you didn't have that, would have been a very different feeling, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. It really would have. And not for the better either.
Right. Sometimes when you don't know what to do, you don't do anything.
Right.
That's typically the go-to.
Right. And it's not necessarily because, I don't know what to do, so I'm not going to do anything. It's usually not that at all. Reason-wise, in my head at least.
Sure.
It's usually a constant back and forth between, what should I do? What should I do?
Mm-hmm.
Do I do this? I don't know. Am I supposed to? What should I do? Should I do this instead? It's...
So you're thinking about stuff, and as you're thinking about it, you get more agitated.
Yes, that's a perfect word for it. I get really agitated about it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then what happens? Do you have so many things swirling around in your head and you don't know what to do, so
it's not even a thing of indecision or anything like that. It's that I don't know what I'm supposed to do next. And so I'm how sometimes whenever I'm having a difficult decision to do,
mm-hmm.
how it's almost like a micro pacing,
Mm-hmm.
where I start to go one direction and then stop, might go a little bit further, or I might just turn back a little bit, and it's just constant back and forth like that. That's what's happening, is that I have all of these, do I do this or what? And that's what's going through my head. That's what it might physically look like for me to others.
It's like this kind of sometimes frantic pacing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it I mean, usually, like, even in cartoons and stuff like that, you'll go from one part of a room to another and then back and forth. That's not necessarily what it looks like, because it's not always uniform like that. Which, now that I'm saying that, is kind of ironic. But
No, but but when I see it happening, I also know that it's not random. It's connected to what you're feeling.
yes.
So you might not go to a different room. You might only take a few steps in one direction, but it's this like little ping pong ball,
Yeah.
back and forth and back and forth, and yeah. So that's what it looks like physically.
Yeah.
And what you're trying to do is process.
Yeah. And it can be really difficult to do that, especially in the moment stressful situation that I'm not familiar with.
So what I would say for people that are helping a loved one or a friend with autism through a process that you can't always have those friendly and familiar faces around you. You just can't,
right.
because you have new experiences all the time.
Right.
But what I would say is that it is important to give the what if scenario. It's super helpful.
Yeah.
And so that,
especially if it is a likely possibility, or not even likely, if it is just a possibility that could come up.
mm-hmm. Right.
And
especially if it's a situation where, it's important that things get done.
Right.
And so I would say that what if scenario, to go through that first, but also to be an advocate, be an extension there, be on the other end of the phone if possible.
Right.
Or...
And going back to how I started learning this kind of thing is that going to the giant or food line, whatever you want to call it, and which is what kind
it's a grocery store.
Yeah. Going to the grocery store with a list of what to get.
Mm-hmm.
And first couple times I did that, if something wasn't perfect on the list of what I'm supposed to get, I wouldn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple times of that happening, it finally clicked in my head, hey, call mom or call dad.
Yeah. Your sister just commented on this the other day, that how when you used to go someplace, so we would plan these things for you to go and do things and to get comfortable and familiar with making these decisions.
Mm-hmm.
She said, do you remember he would call you at least 5 times? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a learning process.
Yeah.
And the more you do something, the more comfortable you get. And you still can't control what's going to happen.
Right.
So yeah, that's true. When even at the grocery store, you're more comfortable today because you did it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And we would be very specific. At first, of course, I would go with you. I would take you. I would say, this is what you look for. This is what you do. This is how you do it.
Right.
And because the unfamiliar is sometimes daunting for you.
Yes.
So I said sometimes, but to be clear on this.
It usually is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's the familiarity and the support that you had.
Right.
And the guidance on what to do next.
Right.
So you had that what if, now what?
Right.
Instruction being given to you by 3 different people.
Right.
Now, I know that you have work today, so we need to finish this up, but I have one question.
Oh,
did you get back to that pharmacist in time?
Well, whenever I got your call and was going back up to the pharmacy, going into the elevator, there was another person in there, and it was the guy from the pharmacy.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he asked, "Hey, were you able to get everything done okay, or is it gonna be okay?" And I gave him the update that we're just making sure that the proper faxes and stuff like that go through, so I can.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Oh, good." And he told me again that that he'll be there until noon, and that whenever no one's at the window, that I can come up and just go right to him.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so after that half-hour wait,
Mm-hmm.
after getting the call from you that the fax was going back through.
Mm-hmm.
They just got it, and so it was another 15-minute wait or so after that point
Mm-hmm.
for the doctor to sign it and put it through.
Mm-hmm.
And it did. And so the receptionist actually came out from the desk area, because they're all behind windows now and everything. She actually came out and came up to me and said, "Hey, we got it. We're good."
Mm-hmm.
And
Victory.
yeah, and I was able to go down to the pharmacy, and I think it was 11:30.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I'd been there all morning
Mm-hmm.
at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to wait a few minutes because the guy at the pharmacy who had been working with me about it still had someone there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of a creeper.
Yeah.
But not really, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so whenever they had finished up and left the window, I went up to him and said, "Hey, is it okay if, because we're good?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice.
And we got it taken care of, and it was...
Yeah, it was you.
I gave 2 thumbs up just now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, this was a 4-hour ordeal.
Yeah.
So you were there for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of stress. That's a lot of, what do I do? How do I do this? Is it going to be okay?
Right.
And there was a period of time where we didn't know if it was going to be okay, because there was in that period of time, and you didn't know that I had talked to them 3 weeks ahead of time. I did tell you that, they have it.
Right.
It's good to go.
Right.
And I had talked to them again, so that's when you went. We were kind of instructed for when you should go.
Yes.
So you went. And I just, again, want to say that giving you guidance and direction ahead of time,
Mm-hmm.
giving you options to know what to do if it doesn't go as planned, and then
Being able to be in contact with not just me, but with other people that would need contact with.
who?
In this case, my psychiatrist, and
You mean?
basically staying available.
Oh, me doing this stuff behind the scenes for
Yes.
you and being available
To
to talk to you and help you through that.
yes.
Yes. So, anybody else that's going through this, I mean, there's going to be things that come up that you just are uncomfortable. That's
Yeah.
the way that life is. It doesn't always just go smoothly.
Right.
Even when people are, have the best of intentions and are trying to do what needs to be done.
Right.
It just sometimes takes time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that that's an important event to share with people, because that could have really been upsetting and threw your whole day off, and you would not have been okay. And as it is,
I was done for the
you
rest
were
of the
done
day.
for the day. You came home and you went straight to bed.
Yeah.
And you stayed there for hours
Yeah.
because it was stressful.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I actually passed out for a few hours there.
Yeah, you did.
And I ended up going to bed early that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was just so much. And that processing for 4 hours was just overwhelming.
Yeah.
Even though you really kept it together and you took the steps you needed to, and I'm so proud of you for doing that. I mean, I know it wasn't comfortable, but but you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really a matter of having those known procedures to go through. in an unknown situation.
Mm-hmm. So not everybody has the benefit that you have had in this situation, where you knew people and there was a particular procedure and you had help on all sides.
Right.
Not everybody would have that, but if we take the example of you going to the grocery store, it needs to be something that's just a repetition of it.
Right.
Of showing, helping to know this is the way that you do it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a procedure. You have a list. You go in. You buy the stuff.
Yeah.
And then you go pay for it.
Yeah.
But that can be uncomfortable. All of those situations can really cause a lot of anxiety.
Right.
And can really cause you to need to sleep after.
Yeah.
You just need to zonk out and recharge.
Yeah.
Because it does feel daunting for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Now, so let me ask you something. Is going to the store, is there at times now, is that still daunting occasionally? Or have you done that so much that you're pretty much okay with that?
I'm pretty much okay with that at this point. I remember way early on, the first months or so of going to the store and me trying to do it without anyone there, you guys would sit in the car in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that if there was an issue that couldn't be explained on the phone, you guys could just come in.
Mm-hmm.
And it gradually got easier.
Mm-hmm.
And it really helped, especially with situations like the pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
Having that backup repetition and that go-to of being able to contact you.
Mm-hmm.
Just really.
And it's just important to, I think, for it to be said that throughout your life, when you're in these situations, it's not everybody has the same anxiety over the same situations.
Right, right.
So for you, it's you begin to feel anxiety and you begin to feel this agitation, and it might not be something that anybody else even is aware of.
Right.
That this is happening, that all of this is going on inside. And I think it's important just to, I don't know, maybe it might sound corny, but it is just, just for people just to do their best to meet others where they are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not to, things, it's gotten kind of crazy in this world, but just be kind. Help out when you can. Be there in a positive way for others when like the pharmacist.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a part of this picture on that day, and I don't even think he really realizes what he did for you.
Right.
To the extent of how he helped you.
Right.
Because that would have been a stress for you to so at this point it was 4 hours.
Yeah.
If he had not said that, you would have had to go back and get another ticket.
And it would have been another at least hour minimum.
I would realistically it would have been another few hours.
Yes. Easily, yes.
Yeah. And
especially because it was the day before a long weekend.
Right, exactly. And so you did a great job, and I'm just so grateful that you were kind of surrounded by the kindness.
Yeah.
Which it just made all the difference.
It did. It did.
Yeah. You have to get going.
Yeah.
You have to get going. Everybody, thank you so much for listening today. Please send us messages. SonyaKing.com, SonyaKing. Our contact information is there. Let us know what you think about this podcast. If there's anything that any experiences that you've had, or that on either side of helping somebody through a situation, or you've been through this kind of situation, let us know how you dealt with it and how it turned out.
Yeah.
Please give us 5 stars because that helps us out a lot.
Yeah, it helps us get seen more. Yeah.
Yep. And that's it. You gotta go. Okay. Thanks so much, everybody. I hope you have a great weekend. Love ya.
Bye.